Reading has become such a key, cozy part of my day. It's a way for me to unwind and learn and connect with stories I wouldn't have otherwise. If you want to read more consistently without the pressure and also find some diverse books along the way, then I've got so many tips I'd love to share with you, and I hope you stick around. My first tip to incorporate reading to be a cozy part of your day is to let your reading be slow paced and intentional. I think there is so much out there in terms of how many books you read in a year, what sort of genres you read, and there's also such like genre snobbery, such as, oh my gosh, I only read classics and I could never read a romance book. And I just want you to forget about all of that and focus on what you want to achieve out of reading. Is it to perhaps some escapism? Is it to learn about different cultures? Or even if it's just to have another hobby to be part of your routine. I also feel like that some books require a slower pace to read it, for you to gain as much as you can from the book. I feel like, especially whenever I read translated fiction books or books from a different genre which is out of my comfort zone, I want to take my time with it. I want to be more intentional with it because I want to learn fully from the book. And I think that is such a beautiful thing to really decide on what reading can do for you. I used to be so swept up in the whole Goodreads reading challenge and even trying to hit my diversity quota, which I should know is the wrong thing to do, being the woman of colour myself. So I'd be like, okay, I want to read 5 translated books this month. I want to read 10 books by authors of colour. And yes, whilst this helps to be more intentional with your reading, you never want reading to feel like a chore. You want it to feel like a ritual where yes, you focus on what you read and how much you're reading, but also not focusing too much on stats and the numbers because it's so easy to be consumed of all of this. And if you're just starting out into being a reader, then I think that is way too much pressure to add onto yourself. Now, if you're specifically looking into diverse books which give that cozy vibes, it's not just about what makes a book cozy, also take into consideration what makes a book cozy for different communities. Warmth and coziness can come from such a variety of experiences. I mean, for me, as a South Asian woman, I love to read about Indian books where there's like a big chaotic wedding and there is so much coziness in that family environment because that's what I've grown up with. Similarly, with translated fiction, in particular Japanese translated fiction, you can find that there's always that slice of life aspect, there's always a cat involved, and that also adds to a different sort of coziness. So cozy is such a generic term and it feels like there was such a big genre of it. I mean, right now there's even so many subgenres such as cozy fantasy, cozy horror, cozy murder mysteries. There is so much to delve into and it can be overwhelming. I think one of my tips that have really helped me is noticing the sort of books I was reading, and I realised that I'm reading a lot of cozy books by, say, white authors, or I'm reading a lot of books which are cozy romances, maybe not so much cozy murder mysteries. And that also kind of helps me kind of narrow down which region am I missing from, which underrepresented community I'm missing from, and that really helped to diversify my reading whilst also sticking to the genres that I love. And yes, whilst I mentioned before to not make things into a tick list, to-do list, I think it's also important to recognise where you're kind of heading towards the same sort of genre, the same sort of authors, and the same sort of reading experience, because you can take so much more from this hobby than just focusing on one sort of direction. Another way for me to read diversely and to also understand more about someone's perspective is to start a book club or do a buddy read with someone. It's such an amazing way to not only deepen your understanding of the book, but also to be consistent with your reading. If I'm doing a buddy read, I notice that my buddy person is reading chapters ahead of me, then my competitor side is like, oh my gosh, I need to catch up. And I think that's a great way to not only be consistent, but also have so much fun with reading. And with book clubs, it is so fun to meet people online or people in person that kind of share the same like-minded taste as you. They also want to expand their reading taste. They also want to take something away from a book. So I recently started my own book club, which focuses on fantasy and romance reads by authors of colour. And it's just amazing to generally be in a room full of people who have that same excitement and passion as you. And just a little plug right here, if you do want to join my book club, let me know in the comments below and I can send you the Discord link. Another way to make reading so cozy and also to incorporate it into a daily habit, into a daily hobby, is to incorporate it into your routine. I'm the sort of person who is a little bit chaotic with my reading. I find that I get most of my reading done in my commute. I'll either be listening to an audiobook, reading on my Kindle, or sometimes if I'm brave enough, I'll whip out a physical book. And that's just one way to be incorporating reading into your daily routine. Also creating a sort of like ritual around it. I really notice that if I don't read before bed, my mind just feels so overstimulated and I'm constantly overthinking and I find it hard to get to sleep. Once I've established a routine such as no screen time at a certain amount of time, lighting a candle, reading in bed, with my Kindle or my physical book, it really generally sets that mood. It's my reading time, this is my nighttime space, and it's such an amazing cozy feeling, especially if you have a cozy warm drink. Like, oh, it makes you just feel like you're literally the main character living that perfect reader girl routine. Also, another way is that I'm really guilty for this, and I should be also taking this advice myself, is to try and replace scrolling with reading. Now, I think the best way that I've accomplished this is that, you know, when you're on your phone and you're randomly just like tapping on apps and you're like, why am I going on this app? When I open my phone, I'll always have the book I'm reading as an ebook version, which I know can be expensive, but sometimes it really does help me to read more. If I open my phone and I notice I'm just going on it for no reason, I'll just click on my Apple Books app or my Kindle app and I'll just start reading, and I end up getting sucked into my book even more. When on another day I would have been scrolling. And I think because I'm so used to scrolling so fast on my phone, I end up reading faster on my phone / Kindle because I'm just tapping my way through. Another way which has really opened up my eyes to the world of cozy reading and incorporating reading into my daily routine is audiobooks. Now, let me tell you, I've always heard about audiobooks and I never really thought it was something for me, but once I started listening to audiobooks, my life has been changed, and especially if you do immersive reading where you put your headphones on, you listen to the audiobook, and you also read the physical book or, you know, the ebook at the same time. It is the most comforting experience ever because you feel like you're like a child again when someone's reading you a bedtime story and you're like really sleepy but you're also enjoying the book so much. It is the best feeling ever. Plus, a perspective you may not realise about listening to audiobooks, that it really helps to listen to different dialects and different accents, especially if you're reading a diverse book. For example, the book The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It was such an amazing experience. It's told through verse, so you kind of get that rhythm. Also, it follows the perspective of Xiomara, who's an Afro-Latino girl, and the experiences she has growing up in New York whilst also being a slam poet. And let me tell you, if reading this book would have been great, but listening to this book was an entirely different experience. And I'd highly recommend you give audiobooks a chance, even if you were like me and you wouldn't really have thought it was your thing. But I am such a music person. Whenever I go for a walk, I love listening to music. I've now even started to listening to audiobooks on my hot girl walks, and it has honestly changed my life. If you are looking to start your audiobook journey, I am an affiliate for BookBee, and you can get 90 days free listening with my code Maddie. If you are thinking of listening to audiobooks, I really like that app. It's really good and it has so many popular books I'd recommend too. Another way for you to be motivated to read, but also read diversely, is to use your social media, follow bookish creators, because let me tell you, they motivate you to read so much. I in particular have so many people I follow on my Bookstagram and my BookTok, and you can also just look through my following list. And I think it's so amazing, one, being a part of a community where everyone is just so excited to talk about books, but two, also get a recommendation from people which you might not have heard of from before. And I think it's especially important to follow people who don't look like you, who are from different cultures, different communities, because you're going to get a different perspective from the reviews that they share of books they've recently read. I've also gotten so many recommendations from people commenting on my posts, from people sharing things to me, and it was just such a wonderful community. I'd highly recommend. I want to pop some names on the screen right now of creators that I absolutely love watching and who provide amazing recommendations. I'd highly recommend you all check them out. Finally, I want to recommend some cozy and diverse books which I absolutely adore. I already have a video called 24 Spring Book Recs, which I'd highly recommend checking out if you want more recommendations, but these are just a few that I absolutely adore and I will always recommend. So I've just grabbed a few books from my shelves which I think really hit the quota of diverse and cozy books. I do also read a lot of ebooks and audiobooks, so I'll pop some on screen as well after I finish talking about these ones. But first up, if you are a lover of YA, rom-coms, contemporary books, if you love To All the Boys I've Loved Before, then I'd highly recommend Being Super 2. It is really funny, it's very much found family. The main character Robert, who worked for his family's cafe, and he quit it because he wasn't enjoying it, but he ended up getting a job at his family cafe's competitor down the road. He meets this really funny girl called Sarang, and now they're very much giving Grumpy Sunshine reversed, where Sarang is grumpy and Robert is very much the sunshine, happy-go-lucky guy. It is such a funny book, it's very cozy, it's very comforting, and it also gets Gen Z humour spot on, which I'd highly recommend. The next cozy book I'd recommend is As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow. Now, you wouldn't think a historical fiction about Syria would be cozy, but genuinely, this book will not only emotionally destroy you, but it also wrap you up in a warm hug at the same time whilst making you sob. I talked about this in my recent mid-year freak out video, but basically this book follows the main character Salama, who is a pharmacist. She wants to escape Syria with her pregnant sister-in-law because she wants to have a better future for her and her family, but she meets this boy called Keenan who very much wants to fight for Syria and wants to stay in Syria, and despite all odds, they fall in love. So it kind of talks about their love story and also how they deal with their PTSD and their trauma, and it is such a beautiful heartbreaking story, and it is one I will constantly recommend because I genuinely think this will change your life if you read this book. Next up we have Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. If you love an emotional romance book where you know that the male main character will be your next book husband, book boyfriend, then read this book and read the next two in the series. This book is like a second chance romance. It follows the main character Yasmin, who is currently co-parenting her children with her ex-husband Josiah. This is such a romantic but also like gut-wrenching book. It really talks about the experiences of motherhood and love and family expectations, and it is so beautiful. Kennedy Ryan is such an amazing author. I'd highly recommend it. And yeah, this is just another cozy, diverse book I'd recommend because it just feels like you're coming home to your favourite characters after a long day. Speaking of coming home to your favourite characters, Out on a Limb is one of my favourite reads. It is literally a 6-star read. I will have no comments on this book. It has great disability representation. It's such a swoon-worthy, cozy, comforting book. Well, the main character Wyn, who accidentally finds herself pregnant after a hookup at a Halloween party. Basically, it's a story about how Wyn and Beau become friends and also how they become lovers and parents. If you've not read a Hannah Bonham Young book, I'd highly recommend this one and go from there. If you're looking for something that's a bit more gritty but also still young adult, I recommend The Bone Houses. This book also has great disability representation. It's very gothic, it's got that sort of fairy tale lore to it. The main character Rin meets up with this apprentice who is called Ellis, and he's got a bit of a mysterious past, but they embark on a journey together which will take you through a magical journey. And if you are a person who likes to mood read, I'd perhaps save this one for spooky season, but if you are in the mood for Summerween, I'd recommend this one right now. As for audiobooks, I'll pop some on screen right now. These books had great narration, great gripping storylines, also books which I preferred listening to rather than reading as a physical book, purely because I felt like I got more from the book. It was more enjoyable to listen to the audiobook than read the physical book. For my recent 5-star diverse ebooks, these are the ones I pop on screen right now. I mainly have been reading a lot of fantasy and romance, but I do want to take my own advice and explore different genres. That's a wrap on my recommendations. Whether you read one book this month or 10, it feels like your kind of cozy, comforting read. If you're also into diversifying your reading and exploring new genres and authors and different cultures, please leave your recommendations down below because I'd love to hear them. And if you like this video and want to see more, please subscribe and join my cozy, inclusive bookish corner right here on the internet. Appreciate you all and thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!